Have you ever wondered how the food you eat gets processed in your body? Well, buckle up because we're about to embark on a fascinating journey. It all begins with ingestion. That's right, the moment you take that first bite, you kickstart an intricate process that transforms food into fuel. Think of your mouth as the starting line. Here, your teeth work like a mill, grinding food down into manageable pieces. But they're not doing all the work. The saliva, a silent hero, jumps into action too. It moistens the food, making it easier to swallow, but it also begins the process of chemical digestion. Enzymes in your saliva start to break down the food even further, especially carbohydrates. So what's happening is not just mere munching, it's a well-orchestrated complex process that gets your food ready for the journey ahead. And remember, so the first step of your food's journey is the mouth, where it's broken down and prepared for the next stage. After your food is chewed and mixed with saliva, what happens next? Let's dive into the journey of our food as it makes its way down the esophagus. The act of swallowing might seem simple, but it's an intricate process. When we swallow, we're not just moving food from our mouth to our stomach, we're also preventing it from going into our windpipe, thanks to a small flap called the epiglottis. Now let's talk about the esophagus, a long muscular tube that plays a crucial role in digestion. It's the highway that carries our food from the throat to the stomach. When we swallow, the esophagus contracts, creating wave-like movements known as peristalsis. This pushes the food down towards the stomach. By the time the food reaches the end of the esophagus, it's transformed into a small moist ball or bolus. Now our food in the form of a bolus is ready to move into the stomach. What happens to your food once it enters the stomach? Well, this is where the magic really happens. As soon as your food crosses the threshold of the stomach, it's greeted by a bustling world of action and transformation. Imagine the stomach as a muscular, hollow organ that's a bit like a personal mixer. It uses its muscular walls, contracting and relaxing to churn the food back and forth. This churning is not some random motion, oh no. It's a highly coordinated dance, designed to ensure every morsel of food gets equal attention and is thoroughly mixed with the stomach's secret sauce, the gastric juices. The gastric juices are nothing short of a chemical marvel. They are primarily composed of hydrochloric acid, pepsin, and mucus. The hydrochloric acid is so strong that it could even dissolve metal, but don't worry, it's not there to dissolve your stomach. Instead, it's the key player in breaking down the food particles, making them easier to digest. Meanwhile, the enzyme pepsin jumps into the fray, busily breaking down the proteins in your food into smaller, more manageable pieces. It's like the dedicated worker on the factory floor, tirelessly ensuring that everything runs smoothly. But what about the mucus? It's not there for the food. It serves an equally important purpose, protecting the stomach lining from the strong acid. It's like a protective barrier, ensuring the stomach can carry on its job without damaging itself. All this activity transforms your food from a solid state into a semi-fluid mass, called chyme. It's not the most appetizing sight, but it's an essential step in the digestive process. Through this transformation, your food has been broken down to the point where it can be effectively absorbed in the next stages of digestion. This is truly a marvel of nature, a perfectly orchestrated symphony of mechanical and chemical processes, all happening inside your stomach. So, the next time you enjoy a meal, take a moment to appreciate the fantastic journey your food embarks upon. Now our food has been transformed into a semi-fluid mass, ready for the next stage of digestion. Where does the food go after it leaves the stomach? That's the question we're answering in this segment. The answer lies in an intricate winding organ, known as the small intestine. This is where the magic happens, where most of our food digestion and nutrient absorption takes place. You may think of the small intestine as a long, narrow tube, but it's so much more than that. It's a bustling factory of digestion and absorption, where essential nutrients are extracted from our food, ready to be dispatched into our bloodstream. Think of the small intestine as a busy highway, where nutrients are the vehicles. These vehicles are driven by enzymes produced by our pancreas. These enzymes are like the GPS of our digestive system, guiding nutrients, breaking them down into smaller, digestible pieces that our body can use. Then, there's bile. Produced by the liver and stored in the gallbladder, bile is released into the small intestine to aid in the digestion and absorption of fats. It acts like a detergent, breaking down fat into tiny droplets, making it easier for the enzymes to do their job. The small intestine is lined with countless little projections called villi. These are like the toll gates on our nutrient highway, allowing the nutrients to pass from the intestine into the bloodstream. This is where the absorption magic happens. The villi increase the surface area of the small intestine, making absorption more efficient. The small intestine is a true marvel of human engineering. It's where the food we eat is transformed into the energy we need to live, to think, to move, to grow. It's where the complex becomes simple, where the fuel for our bodies is created. So, where does the food go after it leaves the stomach? It embarks on a journey through the small intestine, helped along by enzymes and bile, until it's broken down into nutrients. These nutrients pass through the toll gates of villi into the bloodstream, ready to fuel our bodies. At this point, most of the nutrients from our food have been absorbed and are being used to fuel our bodies. And that, my friends, is the wonder of absorption in the human digestive system. What's the final destination for the food in our digestive journey? Let's delve into the last leg of this fascinating journey. Our food has now reached the large intestine, or the colon if you will. This is the place where the magic of water and electrolyte absorption happens. After the small intestine has done its job of absorbing the nutrients, what remains is indigestible food matter. This is where the large intestine steps in. Picture the large intestine as a highly efficient recycling plant. Its main role is to absorb the water and electrolytes such as sodium and chloride from this remaining food matter. These are critical substances that our bodies can't afford to waste. Water, for instance, is vital for maintaining our body's fluid balance, while electrolytes help in nerve and muscle function. So how does this happen? The walls of the large intestine are lined with millions of tiny cells. These cells actively absorb water and electrolytes, effectively turning the semi-liquid food residue from the small intestine into a more solid form. This process is gradual and takes about 12 to 48 hours, but it's not just about absorption. The large intestine also plays host to a complex ecosystem of bacteria, often referred to as our gut microbiome. These little helpers assist in the final stages of digestion, breaking down certain carbohydrates and proteins that our bodies couldn't process earlier. They even produce some beneficial substances like vitamins K and B, which are also absorbed into our bloodstream. What's left after this absorption process is a combination of undigested food, dead bacteria, and cells shed from the lining of the gut. This is then compacted, shaped, and stored in the rectum as feces, awaiting the moment of excretion. Hence, the large intestine ensures that every possible usable substance is extracted and put to good use, while efficiently preparing the waste for removal from the body. And finally, the last remnants of our food are prepared for excretion, completing the digestive process. Just like that, our remarkable digestive journey concludes, but remember, every new bite restarts this intricate cycle. So, how does our body process the food we eat? You might be wondering. Well, let's take a quick trip down memory lane to recap this fascinating journey. It all begins in the mouth, the grand gateway to our digestive system, where the process of ingestion kick-starts our culinary voyage. Our teeth and tongue work together like a well-oiled machine, breaking down food into manageable pieces. Saliva, our unsung hero, moistens the food and initiates the chemical breakdown of carbohydrates, easing its passage down the esophagus. Next, we move to the esophagus, a muscular tube that acts like a conveyor belt, transporting our food to the stomach through a series of rhythmic contractions known as peristalsis. Here, the act of swallowing is more than just a gulp. It's a carefully coordinated mechanism that ensures our food goes down the right tube. Then, we arrive at the stomach, the chemical factory of our body. This organ churns the food around like laundry in a washing machine, breaking it down further with its strong acidic juices. It's a chemical bath that turns our food into a semi-liquid mix called chyme, preparing it for the next phase of digestion. Our journey continues in the intestines, where the magic of absorption happens. The small intestine, with its millions of finger-like extensions called villi, soaks up the nutrients from the chyme. These nutrients, which include sugars, amino acids, and fats, are then absorbed into our bloodstream and transported to all parts of the body. Finally, we reach the large intestine, where water and electrolytes are absorbed, helping to maintain the body's hydration and electrolyte balance. What remains after this extensive process is waste material, which is compacted and eventually excreted out of the body. And that, in a nutshell, is the incredible journey your food takes through your body every time you eat. It's a process that's as fascinating as it is essential, reminding us of the extraordinary complexity and efficiency of the human body.